Good morning and welcome to this week's Grow, where we gather to recharge, organize, and work here as members of MWEG. We are glad that you're joining us and we want to say welcome. We today are going to have an advocacy update from our advocacy group working with children and families and kind of get an idea of what they have been working on and what that area will be focusing on and what that's all about. It's a little bit new. We haven't introduced it here ever on the Grow, but it's been going for a little while now. And we have Annie Bentley Waddoups. She's our Director of Advocacy for Children and Families. And we have Lisa Shumway. She is a volunteer with MWEG doing some work for us. So I'm going to turn the time over to Annie to explain this area of advocacy and what they're working on. And then Lisa can tell what she's been working on with the group and with Annie.
Thank you. Yeah, it's great to be here. As Rachel said, my name is Annie Bentley Waddoups, and I am the Director of Advocacy for Children and Families with MWEG. This is a new advocacy area this year, and I am just so thrilled to be a part of it. We waded into the waters the end of last year before making it an official advocacy area, when we had some organizations reach out to see if we wanted to take part in some outreach around the child tax credit. And so a lot of the MWEG members will remember that call to action, and a lot of you responded because we ended up with over 200 letters, and it was just an amazing outpouring of support for that particular initiative that addresses child poverty. And so I'll get back to that a little bit because that is connected to some of the work that we're doing now. But just as a little background, we have been especially focused on maternal well-being and on child poverty and on things like caring for the caregiver. And in the future, as we're looking ahead to the fall, we're really starting to take a look at advocating around paid family leave. And so we, thus far, have done some work, as I mentioned, in the child tax credit arena. As we participated in that call to action around the end of the year, it was the federal bill that they were considering keeping the child tax credit that had really been shown to help children and families and make an impact on child poverty. That federal legislation did not end up passing, but our impact was very much felt. And part of that was because of the letters that so many of you wrote. Like I said, there were over 200 letters. And while it didn't pass federally, it did help shape the conversation, and it caught the attention of several national advocacy groups who have been interested in collaborating with us on issues. And so we have been involved in a lot of those national conversations in some working groups with faith-based advocacy organizations. And we find that one of the ways that we are especially receiving a lot of attention, and we're sort of the darlings of the scene right now, is just how accessible we have made the kinds of outreach like opinion pieces and writing letters to the editor. It's basically all of you doing that grassroots outreach. So arising from some of that work on the child tax credit, we have been contacted by lots of organizations, and Emma and Jen have been really careful about evaluating where it makes sense for us to collaborate. And one of these collaborations came up over the summer, where a group called Family Compassion has been working hard on access to contraception. And this issue became really relevant when the federal bill did not pass. There was an access to contraception bill in 2022, and it didn't pass. And so they started paying attention to state level, nonpartisan, grassroots level approach. And so those are, they reached out to us, and we said we would absolutely love to make that an opportunity for our members to be heard, for those of our members who felt strongly about the access to contraception, for them to be able to be heard in their state. And they had looked at, especially at certain states. And so Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Mississippi, North Carolina, Nevada, Virginia were some of the states that they were really looking at. And we knew this was important to our members, and we had some conversations on the Facebook discussion group, and we did some outreach to some of our members in those states, especially those that had been engaged in other calls to action, making the invitation. Do you feel strongly about this? Would you like to be heard and amplify your voice? Because this organization that we were collaborating with had a really great pipeline to publications. And they were able to do the placement for us if we created the content and the letters. And so what we did was just invite MWEG members in specific states who had indicated an interest, and feel like that's a really important service we can offer to members to amplify their impact. And we were really delighted to hear back from several who wanted to write and really engage in this issue. One of those was in North Carolina. Annette Guthrie wrote a great letter to the editor that was the first one to get traction. And then Lisa Shumway, who's here with us today, is from Nevada, and she stepped up to write a really wonderful op-ed that I will throw it to you. Lisa's saying that she doesn't have internet at the moment. So I'm going to just keep going, and we'll come back to her. But what I wanted to say about Lisa is, and hopefully she'll come back, but this organization loved her letter so much that they said, we don't want to just have it be in Nevada. We would like to really make this a national piece. And it was so exciting to us to see just how receptive they were, and really how excited they were about such an articulate and passionate letter that would have the opportunity to bridge to decision makers and congressional leaders who maybe come from a more faith-based orientation and hadn't thought about some of the implications of contraception beyond, what they had already made their minds up about. And so Lisa wrote this great op-ed. What we'll do is, when we put this on Facebook later, we'll link to some of those letters, so that some of those publications, and you can see the letters that are the op-ed. But they were able to connect it with the Tribune Syndicate nationwide, which meant that it ended up being published in 10 to 15 newspapers across 6 states, Georgia, Virginia, Tennessee, Washington, Massachusetts, and Pennsylvania. And it was really it was great timing, and it really hit, I think, something in the communities there that hadn't been voiced yet, and really kind of got the ball rolling on some of the conversations. So we're really excited that we were able to collaborate with that organization, and that we were able to step up to provide that opportunity to some of our members. I'll give some updates on some of the other letters that were written in that same, but I'll just pause to make sure, Rachel, or do you have a question, or is there anybody that?
I was just about to ask exactly that, what do you guys have coming up, or what are you guys going to start focusing on in the near future for MWEG that members can get on board with, or if they have interest, want to volunteer, whatever.
Wonderful. Thank you for asking. Well, I will just update a little bit more about some of the other letters, because I want to shout out some of the other women that have written letters that are still in the pipeline. And so we had Zina Burke, who is a new MWEG volunteer and member, who wrote a letter in Arizona that we're really excited is making its way through. They're kind of holding onto it until the assembly in Arizona is on recess, and they wanted to have it be published when they're back. And so they will run it soon, but they're waiting. And then Alexa Alvarado in Florida wrote a fantastic piece as well. And that is, I just checked in with Eric Sapp, who is at the organization we've been collaborating with, and he said that one is going to run soon. And then in Virginia, Trina Cottle, again, wrote a fantastic piece that is in the final editing stage with with that organization and with those newspapers. So we have such a great track record, 5 for 5, getting all of these letters placed. This same, I wanted to return. I was talking to Eric yesterday, just in advance of this, and it was really fun to hear some of his feedback. He said, first of all, the impact of the MWEG members is to his organization and to the other organizations that we've worked with. He said, y'all have been, this is the quote, y'all have been awesome. And he said, you are breaking down some stereotypes that may have existed by some of my colleagues. So I think that's a huge win as we sort of speak out and make our voices heard. Just, there might be some stereotypes about women or religious women or Christian women or members of the church. And so it's really wonderful to hear back that we're making impact in communities, but also just in individual stereotypes and perspectives. And then he also said that the op-eds are so strong that we have a lot of people asking if our authors would be willing to do more like interviews, do other media, to be on TikTok. We've had a lot of requests. And so that is definitely such a great response to be able to then be able to introduce other ways that we can amplify our voices. So if you are interested, if you're interested in the access to contraception work, please reach out to me at my email, and we can definitely continue to be a part of that. This is an issue that we haven't made a priority as an MWEG issue because our bandwidth is so big, and we have like certain issues that we really do want to go all in on. But this is also such a really effective and efficient way for us to advocate when we collaborate with an organization who's already doing that work in that space. And so we are really happy to connect you if this is something that you feel strongly about. This issue is getting traction nationwide, and I think states will be taking them up. Those states that I mentioned are all considering state bills. And so we would love to help you be heard on that. If that's interesting to you, we can connect you to Eric Sapp and his organization, and we can just continue to get those pieces placed.
This would be a good time to talk about the op-ed lab. We talk about it almost every week on the Grow, as we are encouraging our members to have their voices heard. If there are issues that are not necessarily MWEG issues, but that you want to write an op-ed and you want some help, we have volunteers who help our members get their op-eds published. They help them write and edit those. You can submit it to the op-ed lab through the MWEG website, and then they'll get back with you, share some feedback, make some edits, then kind of go back and forth until you feel like it's ready to be submitted. And then they'll help you figure out a way to get that done. So we really, really encourage that if you want to amplify your voice through an op-ed, to take advantage of the op-ed lab that MWEG provides. So, and that's what a lot of these women did, right, Annie? Is that they went through the lab and then they just, it's great because the volunteers there have knowledge in how many words they're supposed to be, how long, what opinion pieces, what it takes to get them accepted, kind of a thing. So, and sometimes those opinion pieces have turned into larger articles for some of our members. So like I said, if it's not necessarily an official area of advocacy that MWEG's working on, but something that you feel strongly about, you can still, as a community member, as a constituent, you can still write that letter, and MWEG volunteers will help you through the op-ed lab. So
100%.
I will put another link to it in Facebook discussion group for anybody that's interested to try it out.
Yeah, and I'll add to that each one of the writers went through the lab, which is, as Rachel said, is so helpful. And they're such like great positive coaches. They find everything that's great and help you refine your message. And the other thing that was really wonderful is a couple of the people said, I am so busy, my kids are home for the summer, I can't write. But I have a lot of thoughts. And so another option is I'm happy to meet with people I know several of the writers, the volunteer editors are happy to even just talk you through. If you want to talk through your ideas and have a partner to get them down, even from that early stage, we can do that. Don't be intimidated, even if you think you're not a writer. We can help you get your thoughts onto the page. So it's such a great resource, and it is one of those benefits to being a member of MWEG to have access to that. And maybe, so I'll just talk a little bit about another couple of, I'll pivot to one other option that is around the op-ed opinion piece right now. It's just such a great way to advocate and to really get voices and stories in front of people who need to hear them in the community, but also stakeholders and decision makers. So we are continuing to work on some child poverty issues. The results came out this month federally about the poverty rate, and it is not great. It has taken a turn after the funding during COVID, which had kind of amped up support to families and was shown to be so helpful and alleviating some of the poverty levels. That funding is ending. And so again, we are continuing to advocate for the child tax credit. And in particular, if you're in Idaho and you feel strongly about getting food on the table of families, getting money back into the pockets of families through the child tax credit, Senator Crapo is on some very influential committees. And so we're looking for writers and members in Idaho who would be willing to do some writing. And that's another way that those letters that we received from the call to action are so helpful, because we are reaching out to those of you that submitted them there. And so that's one place. And then, as I mentioned, we are going to be working on federally on the paid family leave, and trying to find a real bipartisan and good sense solution so that we can make sure that, especially at the beginning and end of life, when we need family members to be especially available, and those kinds of supports are just shown to be, research has shown it to be so helpful to families, but also it helps people stay in their employment longer when their employer provides that kind of leave. And so we're working collaboratively with a group of faith-based organizations, and I've been meeting with several of the working group members federally in the Senate and House to kind of think through what makes the most sense and what's important. So if that's something that is important to you, I would love, again, to hear your story. I'm going to be doing some listening tours through the chapters to hear and surface any of the stories or experiences that you might have had around family leave. Did you have an experience where paid family leave was really wonderful and impacted your family? Or did you have an experience where it would have been a game changer to have had it? We would love to know. Again, those stories make it come alive for people to understand what it's like to raise kids today, not 50 years ago, but today. And so it's really helpful to hear from you. Those are just a couple of things we're working on, but stay tuned and we'll share some more.
Oh, but this is so great. And you guys are so busy. And I liked that you said that you were doing some listening tours in the chapters. And that's a shout out for our chapters. If you are not a member of a chapter in your state, I know we have a few large and active chapters, but you might be surprised that there is a chapter in your state. And if there's not, you can still join, with the groups in the advocacy areas that you're interested in. But in order to find out if there's a chapter in your state, you need to become an official member. It's free. You just go to mweg.org and create a login, create a membership. So I would encourage anybody that's interested to join a chapter of MWEG to join as an official member to do that. And I think it's great because you can hear kind of what areas of the country it's more important, or where people have had more experiences. And I think that our reach will be a little bit broader if we can hear all those ones. So good job for that. I think that'll be
Yeah.
really interesting, similar to the living room conversations, right? But on something that's just not maybe as
yeah, a particular topic to kind of,
so
and then I'll also just add finally, if you are just interested generally in this advocacy area, I'd love to hear from you. We have, you know, time to time we need to like really mobilize quickly. And so if I know that there are people that are interested in the issues, we're always looking for people to support. So that would be wonderful to know.
yes, again, sign up to be a member, then you can contact Annie. Well, you can contact her either way, but really it helps to get on our mailing list so you can know when we have call to actions, when certain areas of advocacy are working on specific bills or topics that might have interest to you. So it's a good way to do it, is to become a member of MWEG. So and join, you know, the groups and areas where you're the most interested and think you could have the most impacts. Well, we lost Lisa, so we'll say thanks for coming, and we'll thank Lisa for her work on her op-ed that she did, and I will try to find a link to that to put in the Facebook discussion group. But Annie, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thanks.
And
we
hope to hear back from you guys to hear what other awesome things you're doing in the future. So join us
We'll be
again.
back.
All right. Thanks everybody. We'll see you guys next week.
All right.
Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye.